You are 21 years old. The marriage license costs $35. You are holding it in a courthouse hallway with someone you've been dating for 14 months. Here's the part that will keep you up at night. In 12 years, this $35 piece of paper is going to cost roughly $400,000 in one direction or the other. Not because of the marriage, because of the timing. Path A signs it today. Path B puts it back on the counter. Same hands, same love. One of these versions of you will have 2 kids, a scratched wedding ring, and a marriage therapist on speed dial by 30. The other will have $187,000 in index funds, a passport with 19 stamps, and a silence in the apartment that hums around 11 p.m. By 40, the one who looks richer on paper can't afford what the other one built for free. Neither of them is wrong. That's the part that will ruin you. Path A, age 21. The wedding costs $2,200. Your aunt's backyard. Folding chairs from the church down the street. Your mother cries before the vows start. Your father shakes your spouse's hand like he's testing whether it'll break. The photographer is your cousin's roommate, with a refurbished Canon she bought on eBay for $380. Half the photos are overexposed. The other half are mostly of the food table. You frame the best one anyway. You're married. First apartment. 1 bedroom, 2nd floor, above a dry cleaner that makes the hallway smell like hot starch 6 days a week. Rent, $1,140. Combined income after taxes, $4,680 a month. You build a budget on the back of a Wendy's receipt while eating a $1.29 junior bacon cheeseburger. Your entire financial future planned on a grease-stained napkin. The math works. Barely. You eat spaghetti 4 nights a week. Not from poverty, from partnership. Also from the fact that spaghetti costs $1.20 per serving and you've done the math on that too. The first real fight happens at month 3. It's about dishes. It's never about dishes. It's about the fact that your spouse was raised by people who treat a dirty sink the way normal people treat a spider in the bathroom. Acknowledge it, ignore it, deal with it eventually. You were raised to believe that a dish left in the sink after 10 p.m. is a moral emergency. You say things you don't mean. Your spouse cries in the bathroom. You stand outside the door and realize something nobody told you at the ceremony: love is not a feeling you have. It's a decision you make at 11:47 p.m. while holding a sponge and choosing not to say the next sentence. You twist the ring while you wait. You didn't have that habit before. You do now. By 23, you have $3,800 saved. Your spouse gets a raise $2,400 more per year. You redirect the entire thing into savings before it has time to become brunch. You don't tell anyone. Not because it's a secret, because nobody you know is doing it. Your college roommate calls in March. Barcelona. 2 weeks. 6 of them going. You say maybe next time. He says, you always say that. He's right. The wedding ring catches the kitchen light as you hang up. It cost $180. The trip would have cost $3,100. The math decided before you did. You are 23 years old. You have a spouse, a lease, $3,800 in savings, and a life that is small and specific and warm in a way that doesn't photograph well. Nobody is posting about spaghetti on a Tuesday, but nobody is eating alone either. Path B, age 21. You don't sign. You kiss your partner goodbye at the courthouse door. The relationship lasts another 8 months. It ends on a Wednesday over text. 3 paragraphs. You read them twice. Then you order pad thai. You eat it on the couch in your underwear at 2 p.m., and nobody asks why. That's the first time freedom has a taste. It tastes like peanut sauce and silence. You move to a new city at 22. A job offer, $46,000. Rent is $1,380 for a studio with a window that faces a brick wall. Your first morning, you make coffee alone, and it's the most peaceful thing you've felt in a year. Nobody asks where you're going. Nobody needs you home by a certain time. Nobody leaves dishes in the sink except you, and you're fine with it. Because you've decided that a dish left until Thursday is a lifestyle choice, not a character flaw. You date. A lot. At 22, dating is a research project you didn't sign up for but can't quit. A woman named Claire is hilarious, but hasn't finished a book since high school. A guy named Jordan quotes Dostoevsky, but is absolutely no fun at dinner. You go on 23 first dates in 14 months. You remember 7. 3 ghosted you, 2 you ghosted. 1 cried. You start to suspect that finding the right person isn't a feeling you catch, it's a list you build, one disappointing appetizer at a time. By 23, you've slept in 4 time zones. Promoted once. Salary, $52,000. Savings, $7,200. 401k, $4,100. You buy a jacket in Tokyo for $290 that makes you feel like a different person. That's the thing about being 23 and single. The highs are razor sharp and the lows are wide open, and neither lasts long enough to teach you anything you can keep. At a friend's wedding in October, you watch the first dance. The groom's ring catches the light. Something tightens in your chest. Not sadness, not envy, something without a name. You get another drink. You make a joke to the person next to you about the DJ's playlist. They laugh. You don't. The gap at 23. Path A. Married, $3,800 saved. First fight survived. Path B. Single, $11,300 in assets. 4 countries. A feeling at weddings you won't bring up for 6 years. The currencies are already different, and they don't convert. Path A. Age 24. Your spouse is pregnant. The test comes back positive on a Sunday morning while you're eating cereal. The spoon stops halfway to your mouth. You do what you always do when the world shifts. You open a spreadsheet. Diapers? $936 per year. Formula, if needed, $1,800. Childcare, and this is the number that makes you close the laptop, stand up, walk to the window, and then come back and open it again. $14,400 per year. You stare at it the way you'd stare at a bill that was mailed to you by God himself with no return address. The baby arrives at 25, a girl, 7 pounds 4 ounces. You don't cry at the birth. You cry 40 minutes later in the hospital hallway when you realize you're responsible for a human being who can't hold her own head up, and you still can't fold a fitted sheet. Your mother-in-law moves in for 6 weeks. 1 bathroom. She has opinions about the bathwater, the diapers, and the spaghetti. You love her. You will never forgive those 6 weeks. Both are true. Most of family is holding 2 truths at the same time and not dropping either one. At 26, you buy a house. 3 bedrooms, $274,000. Down payment, $18,200. Every dollar saved for 3 years. Every spaghetti night. Every declined invitation. Mortgage, $1,840 a month. Combined income after taxes, $6,100. After mortgage, insurance, utilities, car, groceries, diapers, and every other thing that keeps a family breathing, the margin is $340 a month. For emergencies, for life, for the thing that hasn't happened yet but absolutely will. $340. Your spouse goes back full-time after a year of reduced hours. Combined take-home, $7,400. You start a 529 education fund, $150 a month. Your daughter won't know about this for 18 years. You do it anyway. That's what being a parent is, making deposits into accounts that won't mature until you're old enough to cry about it. At 27, your spouse wants a second child. You do the math silently while she's talking. The math says wait. You don't say the math says wait. You say, let's talk about it this weekend. This is the difference between being right and being married. You are learning it in real time. You are also learning that this weekend is where difficult conversations go to die quietly. You almost lose the ring down the shower drain at 26. You fish it out with a bent paperclip. Your hands are shaking. The ring cost $180. The shaking isn't about the money. It's about what the ring has become, not jewelry. Evidence. Net worth, at 27, $62,000. Home equity, retirement, education fund. Your college friends are posting from Bali, Tokyo, Lisbon. You don't unfollow them. But you've stopped looking at the photos the way you used to. You look at them now the way you look at a menu for a restaurant you can't afford. With interest. Without intention. Path B, age 24. You get a job offer in another city. Salary, $68,000. You accept it over lunch. No discussion required. No consideration of anyone's commute, school district, or mother who lives 20 minutes away. You pack in 3 days. The freedom to say yes without asking is worth something. You don't know the exact number, but it's more than $68,000. At 25, you invest seriously. $800 a month into index funds. Roth IRA maxed. You read about compound interest on a red-eye to Denver, and the math makes you sit up straight in seat 14C. Untouched, you'll have $1.1 million by 55. You screenshot the projection. You look at it twice a week the way Path A looks at pictures of their kid. Your retirement projection is your firstborn, and it never cries. At 26, you date seriously. A woman named Priya, an architect. Opinions about load-bearing walls and emotional availability in equal measure. She's the first person who makes you think about a second toothbrush as a permanent fixture. 6 months in, you discuss moving in together. Then Seattle calls. Transfer offer. $12,000 raise. You take it. Priya doesn't come. She has her own load-bearing walls. You tell yourself it was the right move. You are correct. You are also eating dinner alone in a city where it rains 150 days a year, which is nature's way of asking you to reconsider. By 27, your net worth is $94,000. No mortgage, no dependents, monthly discretionary. $2,200. You buy a watch, an automatic. $680. It sits on your nightstand next to nothing. At a dinner party, someone asks if you're seeing anyone. You say, not right now. The host's wife tilts her head. You'll learn that tilt. It's the look people give when they've decided your life is missing a piece. They're not wrong. But they don't know that the last person who could have been the piece is in another city, designing buildings that will outlast every relationship you've ever had. The gap at 27. Path A. Net worth $62,000. Margin $340. Hasn't traveled in 7 years. Path B. Net worth $94,000. Discretionary $2,200. 3 relationships ended by geography. Financial distance. $32,000 in B's favor. The human distance doesn't show on a spreadsheet. It shows up at dinner parties and in the silence after them. Path A. Age 28. Second child. A boy. The house that felt spacious with 1 child feels like a submarine with 2. The third bedroom becomes the nursery. Your home office moves to a corner of the kitchen table between the high chair and a banana that's been sitting there for 3 days, and nobody will throw it away because everybody thinks it's somebody else's banana. You take work calls with a pacifier within arm's reach. Your manager, Deborah, notices you're slower on email after 6 p.m. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't need to. You start waking at 5:15 a.m. to answer emails before the kids wake up. This is what ambition looks like when it shares a bathroom with a toddler. At 29, the marriage bends. Not breaks, bends. Your spouse hasn't slept a full night in 14 months. You haven't had a conversation that wasn't logistics in 4 weeks. The last time you went out together, actually out, not to a grocery store, was a parent-teacher conference. You sat in the car afterward, and neither of you spoke for 3 minutes. That silence is different from Path B's. Path B's silence is empty. This one is full of things you're both too tired to say and too married to leave unsaid forever. You see a marriage therapist at 30. Dr. Kwan. $180 per session. Insurance covers $60. Out of pocket, $120 a week for 8 months. That's $3,840 to learn how to talk to someone you've been sleeping next to for 9 years. In month 5, she asks you both to describe the marriage in 1 word. Your spouse says, tired. You say, building. You look at each other across a beige couch in a rented office, and neither word is wrong. That's what good therapy teaches you. The question was always wrong, not the answers. At 31, something shifts. The second child sleeps through the night. Your spouse gets promoted. Combined income, $128,000. The margin goes from $340 to $1,200. You refinance the mortgage at 5.2%. Payment drops $190. You redirect it into the 529. You don't celebrate. You update the spreadsheet. That spreadsheet has been open for 10 years. It has never once lied to you. It has also never told you it loves you. You are married to both. Net worth at 31, $148,000. Home equity, retirement accounts, education fund. You haven't been to a restaurant without crayons on the table in 3 years. Your marriage has survived a bend that breaks 40% of couples who married before 25. You didn't know the statistic while you were inside it. You just knew the couch was beige and the silence was heavy, and you kept showing up. The ring has a scratch on it from the kitchen counter. You notice it during therapy. You don't get it polished. It looks the way the marriage feels. Not new, still on. Path B, age 28, Seattle. Your apartment has exposed brick. a Peloton you rode 4 times the first month and twice the second, and a wine subscription that sends 2 bottles of something unpronounceable every 3 weeks. You see a therapist named Marcus every other Tuesday. $200 a session. You don't need insurance. You can afford everything you want. The problem is not what you can afford. At 29, you date Elena. She's 31. A veterinarian, the kind of calm that comes from putting animals to sleep on Wednesday and going to brunch on Sunday. 6 months in, she asks about timelines. Kids. Marriage. You say you're open to it. She hears the word you didn't say. The word is eventually. Everybody always hears it. Elena breaks up with you at a coffee shop. Her hand is steady. Yours isn't. She's 31. She doesn't have the luxury of eventually. You didn't think of it in those terms. She did. That's the gap that ended it. At 30, your college friends send holiday cards. 2 kids, golden retriever, matching pajamas. You used to mock these. Now you put them on the fridge. You look at them while eating dinner, standing up over the sink at 9:40 p.m. Alone. Marcus asks about the cards. You say, I'm just being sentimental. He says, about what? You don't answer. You go on a date in February. She's 28, a graphic designer. She asks what you're looking for. You say something real. She says, me too. You both mean it. You both also said it to the last person. The date lasts 90 minutes. She texts you the next day. You don't respond for 3 days, not because you're uninterested, but because you've read enough about attachment theory to ruin every natural impulse you have left. By 31, your net worth is $187,000. Your financial advisor, Daniel, tells you you're ahead of 94% of people your age. Retirement projection, $2.4 million by 60. You look at the number. You feel nothing. Not even the pride you felt when you screenshotted $1.1 million on a red-eye to Denver. The number got bigger. The feeling didn't. You drive home to an apartment that smells like nothing because no one else lives there. The gap at 31. Path A. Married 10 years, 2 kids, net worth $148,000, survived therapy. Path B. Single, net worth $187,000. 4 relationships ended by geography, timing, or the word eventually. Financial gap. $39,000 in B's favor. The other gap, Path A, has 2 people who run to the door when they get home. Path B has a Peloton and a projection. Neither is winning. Both are paying. Path A. Age 32. Your daughter starts 1st grade. She loses her first tooth on a Tuesday and puts it under her pillow with the seriousness that only a 6-year-old brings to a financial transaction. You put $5 there at midnight. Your spouse is asleep. You stand in the hallway between the kids' rooms, and for 30 seconds, the math doesn't matter. Not the mortgage, not the margin, not the spreadsheet. Your daughter believes in the tooth fairy, and you are the tooth fairy. And this is the compound interest nobody puts on a chart. At 33, your career accelerates. 10 years of showing up. 10 years of answering the 7 a.m. email and covering the shift nobody wants. Salary? $94,000. Spouse? $72,000. Combined? $166,000. Margin? $2,400 a month. For the first time, you have real choices. Not fix the brakes or eat out choices. A kitchen renovation, a vacation, a college fund that's actually growing. You take the family to Disney World. 5 days. $4,200. That's $840 a day. You catch yourself calculating the per-hour rate while standing in line for It's a Small World, and realize you're paying $35 an hour to listen to animatronic children sing the same song in 47 languages. You also realize you're doing the thing turning joy into a line item. You stop calculating. Your son throws up on Space Mountain. Your daughter drops her ice cream and cries like someone canceled Christmas. Your spouse sunburns on day 2 because they refuse to reapply on principle. Best trip of your life. It's because everybody was there. Everybody was a mess. Nobody wanted to be anywhere else. At 35, you and your spouse have a conversation you've never had. Not about kids, not about the mortgage, about what you want the next 10 years to look like. You say the same thing at the same time. You both laugh real laughter, the kind that hurts your stomach, and your spouse does that thing with their face you fell in love with at 20. The marriage didn't just survive, it deepened. Dr. Kwan charged $120 a week. What she built was worth more than the house. Net worth at 35, $312,000. Home equity, $128,000. Retirement, $147,000. Education, $37,000. You drive a 2019 CRV with 87,000 miles. It runs. You open a brokerage account, $400 a month, automated. You're 35 and you wish you'd started at 22. But at 22, you were building something without a ticker symbol. It has a first tooth under a pillow and a sunburn from Disney. Your daughter asks why you always wear the ring. Because I promised. What did you promise? To stay. She nods like, that's obvious. It is. Path B, age 32. You meet someone. Her name is Ava. She's 29. A product manager who runs half marathons and cries at documentaries about whales. Beautiful in a way that makes you nervous, which hasn't happened since Priya. The first date lasts 4 hours. The second lasts all weekend. By month 3, you know. You've sat across enough wrong tables to recognize the right one. This is what you were waiting for. You were right to wait. You also waited a very long time. At 34, you propose. The ring costs $14,200. You don't check the account. The wedding costs $47,000. Open bar, live band, a venue with chandeliers and exposed beams. Not an aunt's backyard, not folding chairs, not a cousin's roommate with an eBay camera. This is the wedding you could afford, because you spent 13 years affording nothing else. The honeymoon is Greece. 3 weeks. $11,400. You pay for everything in cash. No debt, no payment plan, no grease-stained Wendy's receipt math. The money was never the problem. The timing was always the question. You marry at 35. The exact age Path A has been married for 14 years. That thought hits you at the reception, and you push it away. But it comes back later, in the quiet, after the guests leave. 14 years. You try to imagine 14 years of anything. You can't. You just started. Ava wants kids immediately. She's 32. The fertility math is different at 32 than it is at 21. You learn this in a doctor's office with a pamphlet that uses the word geriatric for women over 35. Ava is not amused. Nobody is amused. The waiting room has magazines from 2019 and a pen chained to the clipboard as if someone might steal it. You've paid $14,000 to be here. You can afford your own pen. The first IVF cycle costs $22,000. Insurance covers $8,000. Out of pocket, $14,000. It doesn't work. The second cycle, another $14,000. It works. Your son is born when you're 37. You are the oldest dad in the recovery ward. The nurse calls you dad, and you flinch not from displeasure, from the sudden weight of how long it took to get here. The financial picture tilts. Net worth at 37, $340,000. Still higher than Path A, but the burn rate changes everything. Mortgage, $2,800. Childcare, $2,100 a month. IVF repayment, $890. Your discretionary drops from $2,200 to $410. The freedom you built over 15 years is being spent in 15 months. Not wasted, invested. But invested in something that doesn't come with a screenshot you can check on a Tuesday morning. At 40, your son is 3. He can't hold a fork reliably. Path A's kids are 15 and 12. They do their own laundry. They have opinions about politics. You are changing diapers while Path A is having conversations. But your son looks up from the high chair one morning and says your name for the first time. Not Dad, your actual name. He heard Ava say it. He's grinning like he cracked a code. You are 40 years old, and a 3-year-old just made you the happiest you've ever been. The timeline was wrong. The feeling isn't. You are also tired in a way that $340,000 cannot fix. Your wife asks about a second child. You do the math. You'd be 43 at delivery. At your kid's high school graduation, you'll be 58. You feel the number in your knees. Path A at 40. Married 19 years. 2 kids, ages 15 and 12. Net worth $412,000. Margin $3,200 a month. Ring scratched. Dull. Never comes off. Path B at 40. Married 5 years. 1 child, age 3. Net worth $340,000. Margin $410 a month. Ring polished. New. Sits next to a $680 watch. The financial gap has flipped. For the first time in 19 years, Path A is ahead by $72,000. The spaghetti person passed the Roth Maxer. That's not the point, but it's not nothing. The point is simpler. One married before they were ready and built the readiness inside the marriage. The other waited until they were ready and discovered that readiness has a shelf life. Both of them are standing where the other one stood. Path A is watching their teenager learn to drive. Path B is watching their toddler learn to walk. Both are exhausted. Both are grateful. Both are terrified. Just on different schedules. They both stood in that courthouse hallway at 21. Same form, same $35. One signed, one didn't. 19 years later, they're both holding a kid and a mortgage and a ring and a question they can't quite answer. The $35 marriage license is still in a drawer somewhere. For both of them. That part never changed. If this one stayed with you, like and subscribe for more.